Merry meet and bright blessings. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to give it a minute for people to join because I know I'm like super fast. At least when I join, right? All right. So tonight is Open Spiritual Panel. And this is an interesting topic. I was kind of inspired actually to do this topic because I've seen did I get that? Yay. Welcome, Bren.
So Terror Tuesday, oh boy, was it eventful. I had like a lot of people come in.
Oh,
Got
did
22
you?
point, I don't even remember how many, but it was 22 point likes. And I'm over here like, okay. And it was good up until like the last reading where one of the cards flew and hit me in the face for some reason. I even posted it like on my page, like you could see it just like, okay, that's interesting. Whack!
I know I missed Tarot Tuesday, but I did have a great class. So I had, I was teaching tasseomancy actually. So
Tasseomancy. I'm drawing the
tea leaf reading.
Oh, duh. Oh.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's hard to remember because it's easier to say tea leaf reading, and some people are like tasseomancy. So actually, the title of the class is tea leaf reading because so many people don't know that it's tasseomancy. So,
Isn't that so? With tea leaf reading, that's when you brew the tea, and depending on like once you finish the tea, where the specific herbs land.
yes, and you can even do it with coffee grounds.
And does that also include, like, say for an example, if you're making a blend, and depending on what remains from the tea, the certain herb, if you're able to identify it, can that be incorporated? Ha ha ha.
Yes, yes. And it's really nice to be able to actually like if they're like, I want to know if I'm going to get a promotion at work, you can use herbs associated with promotion at work and with more money to do the blend too. So it's a really fun way to do divination. And the cool thing is the symbolism in tasseomancy is the same as in cartomancy or tarot reading and oracle cards. So it is really fun. So,
And aren't there like special cups that actually have in design within it, like the certain shapes and the certain symbolic things too?
yes, there are.
Wow.
So and like I tell like because this was a beginning class and I like told everybody you can get those cups, but please feel free to reach out to me if you need help interpreting them because it like if you are just starting out, those cups are a little overwhelming. So
Yeah, because there's a lot to look at.
yeah, it is. It is a lot to look at, and you need to like know like they have all like a lot of them. Like I have one that has like all the zodiac signs in there, and then it has all the planets in there. So you need to understand the zodiac and the planets in order to understand if you get like the shape of what looks like maybe a wolf by Jupiter, you need to kind of understand what Jupiter means and what the wolf means to be able to interpret it. So yeah, it can be a little like
Lone wolf wisdom.
yeah, yes. As long as you know a little bit of the astrology and stuff, but like some people don't. So like when you get those cups, that can be a little overwhelming if you don't know yet. And they don't come with books, so you do have to know your glyphs. You have to know astrology, and yeah. I mean, when I bought mine, I bought like a friend bought one at the same time, and I'd been tea leaf reading for a while, and I was really excited. She had never done it before, and I had to spend a lot of time helping her, which was fine. I mean, I have no problem doing that. But she's like, oh, I haven't even dived into astrology yet. And she's like, I wish it had come with a book. And I'm like, nope. So, so always fun. But I'm glad. Ooh, I'm so glad Tuesday Tarot worked out well. So I know I was sad to miss it, but was having fun too. So.
Yeah, but I would have gone a lot longer, but I mean, I was starting to get a little snoozy, but yeah, it was fun.
Yes. Well, we'll be back here and we'll be talking about the Emperor, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the Emperor next. Yep. I had to think. Oh my gosh. It feels like it's been forever, but it hasn't.
Yeah, it's only been like a week.
Right? Yeah. So I picked tonight's panel to be prothesizing versus sharing, because I have seen a lot lately in like spiritual chats and a little bit on in spiritual TikTok where people are trying to force their beliefs on others.
Oh yes, and
And I,
another.
yes, and you were around for one here. So, and I mean
Yes,
it was starting to get a little bit bad.
and even at that, there were like even like I have like a friend or two that were like trying to put their belief system like really in my face, and every time I've told them like I don't know how to tell you this, love, but that only applies to you, not me. I'm sorry. That don't apply to me. I'm sorry. It's not mine. It's yours.
Yeah, and I think that's like this so important. And so one experience, and it actually reminded me. So I was in high school at the time, and one of my friends who was a year younger than me, we were all hanging out. I grew up in Utah, so it is very, very Mormon. I was the kid that my parents would drive me to church. We'd all go in and I'd sneak out.
Yep.
And then I'd show up when it got done because, like, the Mormon church, I don't think it's 3 hours long anymore. It was 3 hours for many, many, many,
Oh
many.
God.
Yeah,
Oh
and
God.
3 hours is hard. I mean, an hour is hard. But so I just always had to make sure I met the family so we could get back in the car and go home, but like they didn't know. So one of my friends was extremely Mormon. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if she went on a mission. But most of my friends were not Mormon. I liked hanging out with the non-Mormon kids because, quite frankly, most of the Mormon kids tried to push their Mormon views on you. And it was like, even if you grew up in it and you were supposed to believe in it, it was like, why do you have to push? Like, why are you pushing this? And even on your friends who go to that church, why are you pushing it? But it reminded me, so this friend who was a year younger than most of us, and we're hanging out, and she literally said to the 4 non-Mormons that were sitting with us, I feel bad for you because you're going to go to hell because you're not Mormon.
Why?
And that was it. No one wanted to hang out with her after that.
It's like, why? What?
Yeah.
What in the heck went through your head to think that was a good thing to say?
Right.
Honey
Yeah.
bun. Come on now.
Exactly. And it's like, I see that so much. And it's not just with Mormons. I'm seeing it with lots of other religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we need to have the freedom to believe what we believe. That's part of us being authentic. So I felt like this was like kind of an important topic to discuss, because this is spiritual. This is our spiritual panel.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, Brent? I'm just go ahead, take the floor, take as much time as you want.
Now, don't get me wrong. I completely understand if somebody is genuinely concerned and wants to share because they just want to, because that's just what they want to do for their own thing. Not have a hidden motive like I must convert as many as possible to get like the brownie point or whatever, what have you. And be the most known converter. Like, no. Because truthfully, if people, I mean, for me, it's simple. It's like, you have your belief system, I have mine. King Doodle. Well, aren't you afraid of being damned? Aren't you afraid of being like in an afterlife, or just in an eternal state of torture? Well, Cupcake, I was at peace, and then you showed up because now you brought that with you. Oh, but it's like, like I said, I completely understand if you're being invitational about it, or if you would like to share about it. But if somebody says no, thank you, don't keep pushing it. And also the whole, this is what I like to call it. I call it the pretty much having the he who font rage. It's like, you're going to go to hell if you don't follow this. Well, I don't think it could be any more worse than dealing with this at the moment, so how bad could it be? And it's just never sat right with me because the way, at least how I see it, it's like, so you're going up to an individual, or even my personal favorite, you're holding signs saying kind of vulgar, uncalled for things at a funeral service? Why the heck are you doing that? No, you're not really setting off a good message. You're kind of showing that you have no sense of self-control and you really don't care about everybody, which is claiming to be have done. But so why do that? Is it because you guys want attention? Okay, quit it. There's your attention.
Yeah. And I think about it like, there's that saying that you get more bees with honey than, or like you don't get many bees with poop. I don't remember the exact phrasing of it, but I mean, it is true. Like for me, I need to read the material, soak it in, and then see how the people who practice, how they are. And it is a huge turnoff for me if they're forcing it down your throat and they're like, and oh, you're doing this, and so you're going to go to hell, and you're doing this, so you're going to go, it's like, no. Every single solitary religion out there literally says, do not judge. So it's like, why are you judging? And it is a very big turnoff for me. Now, it might not be for some people. Some people might enjoy that. But for me personally, I don't. Like, it's a huge turnoff for me.
Probably another one of my absolute favorite ones that I also like is how literally anything and everything, even if it's something like you see, like a cute little chickadee just flying around and it's going boop, ba-doop, ba-doop. And then out of nowhere, just completely out of nowhere, no reason whatsoever, you just hear someone go, oh, that little chickadee's satanic. It's like, honey, do you even know what satanic means? Well, it's just the enemy of God. No. And also, so for the record too, satanic doesn't mean malefic or malicious intent. It would be intent to cause intentional, grotesque harm. That's not the definition. But satanic is something that opposes you. Opposes the self, challenges the self. And that could be anybody. So technically anybody can be satanic because they're in opposition to you, challenging you. But that's none of my business. Whether I know. But in all seriousness, and even also some things that are just like really, like probably the biggest one that makes me just facepalm so hard is like saying, even within like the amount of denominations anyway, you're having one denomination now swinging at another one because one of them is giving recognition to the saints, while the other ones are saying, "Well, that's idol worship." No, it's not. It's not. It's not idol worship. Because if it was worship, they would be doing certain things showing that, but they're not. Ugh. Go.
And like the thing is I think unfortunately a lot of people misunderstand too, like you're talking about Satanism. If you don't know what it is, we shouldn't throw it out there. It's just like, okay, this is an example that has nothing to do spiritually. And some people are going to get really upset about it. So I have a friend who's an anti-vaxxer, and it's completely fine. I'm not going to talk about like my feelings on vaccines, but she's 100% an anti-vaxxer. And when COVID happened, she was ranting and raving, and then she's like, everybody's going to pass away because that's what happened during the influenza and when they were giving the flu shot during the Spanish influenza. And I said, wait, you do know the Spanish influenza was in the 1920s and the shot, and now I can't remember the exact date, but it was like the late 1930s or early 1940s that the flu shot was invented.
Awkward.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like she got like really quiet, and it's like, before you throw things out, make sure you know the facts. And I see that a lot. Like it happens a lot, not just in the spiritual community, but It happens in everything. Like, if you don't know, say, I'm not sure, but my thought process is this. But yeah, it's like, if you don't know. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, when we go back to my friend from high school, like, she knew nothing about our other friends' religions, nothing at all. Most of them were different sects of Christianity, but she knew nothing about it and had no intentions of learning about it, and just was judging. And it's like, no, we need to accept people for who they are and what their belief system is. Like, when we don't do that, that creates problems, especially if you're like in a relationship, like a friendship or like a marital relationship. You're not going to have a good relationship with your friend or your significant other if you're not willing to learn about their belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't change others. That's like the most important thing. And I know it's really hard to learn. I'm sure everybody's had like an experience where they thought, oh, this person's going through a really hard time, I'm going to help them through it. Well, you can't help them through it. They have to want to go through it on their own. And it's the same way with a spiritual path. A spiritual path, regardless of if it's considered a religion or just a spiritual path, it is that person's individual belief, and it's going to make them who they are. Like, my husband doesn't like to recycle. He's atheist. It's completely fine. I'm recycle freak. Like, we literally have 2 giant recycling bins, and I fill them every week with whatever it is, even if it's just like a crinkled receipt. But my husband, he's like, I'm not recycling. And I'm like, there's only one earth. Our great, great, great grandchildren won't have one if we don't recycle. So, and I'm not going to force it down his throat. He literally, now it's like, I mean, we've been together for so long that he'll be like, are you recycling this, or can I throw it in the garbage? He asks me, but like, that's my thing. He doesn't take him to the curb. That's my thing. So, I take it to the curb, and, that's his belief and that's my belief, but I don't let that get in between our relationship and ruin it. We meet literally in the middle, and I think that's like really important, especially when we're joining spiritual panels, or, like I see the Reddit conversations where people start arguing and fighting. I see it in the witchcraft community. Like, oh my gosh, when somebody says, since I recognize myself as he and him, would I be a warlock or a witch? And the arguments.
Now,
Yes.
now, to be completely honest, to just even help dispel that, warlock has so many definitions attached to it. It could be one that is known as a treasurer, a traitor. There's that one, the treachery. But then there's also another alternative one that is known as one who sings magic. So yeah, if you sing and you use, and that's part of your magical practice, then technically, yes, you're a warlock. But that's why for me, I just say, I'm unorganized and I just do whatever the bloody heck I want. Yes. I acknowledge all, I go with all, but I decide which one I stick to.
Yeah, but I've seen, I mean, you've probably seen it too, Brent.
I've seen it all.
Massive fights break out, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And it makes me so sad to see it when it's like in spiritual groups, because it's like part of, and I don't care what religion or spiritual path you are, the one consistency with every single one. Okay, well, I'm not going to say every single one because I've not studied every single one, but with the main ones and then some of the obscure ones, is literally have love and appreciation for all living things. I mean, the Bible even says that Jesus said, when you're in Matthew, love one another, love everybody. So it's in the Quran. It's like, it's literally in almost every spiritual text out there. So when you're in a spiritual group and you see people like being mean. It's like, it just blows my mind. I'm like, this is the one place we should all feel safe. Like, we can say, I enjoy reading the Bible. What do you enjoy reading? I mean, like, that's how it really should be. Not like, oh, you need to read the 10 Commandments. Oh, you have to read the Bible. No, that should be everybody's personal choice, what they want to read. But it's okay to say, I like this psalm. Is there something you like from your spiritual path? But when the fights break out, oh my gosh, it's just like, for me, it's just really heartbreaking, because it's like, this is supposed to be a spiritual safe place. And it's the first, like, I leave those groups as soon as I see like the moderator not talking to those people and saying, hey, ooh, we got to be nice. That's like, I'm all, this group's not for me, because there's too much meanness. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Bryn?
I think it's just a bunch of like, okay, Hanky and Panky, is this really worth having a big table flip hissy fit at? Because, I mean, for goodness sakes, why don't we just keep it simple? If you want to be calling yourself a warlock and you sing magic, or you're a treacherous two-timer, have at it. It's your choice. And if they want to say they want to ride the broomstick, let them ride the bloody Nimbus 2000 already, for goodness sakes. Well, a guy can't be a witch. And who are you to make that call? Who are you, huh? Hmm? Hmm? Exactly. And don't make it a big deal, for goodness bloody sakes. Oi.
Yeah, it's just mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. And we can't change those people, and I don't even try. Like, I'll see, like, one of my girlfriends, she's so sweet. When she sees people attacking other people, she tries to like calm the situation down and tries to reason. And I said, she's all, you never say anything. And she's like, sometimes I've seen comments against you. And I'm like, yeah, you can't you can't negotiate with crazy. Like, you just can't. And you can sit and say, hey, we're all supposed to be sweet and loving here. We shouldn't be picking on other people. We shouldn't be bullying. You're not going to change their ways. They're set in their ways, and that's how it is. I realize, even with this topic, the people that want to prophesize versus sharing their beliefs, the people who want to force it down our throat and say, you know, you need to follow the 10 Commandments or else. That's not, if that's not our belief, you can't force it down somebody's throat, and you can't force them to change.
Well, oh, I have to follow the Ten Commandments? Well, it's okay. I'm already following them because, look, I associate with goddesses. So it says, thou shalt not have any gods before me. Well, it doesn't say goddesses. So technically, yes, ladies, you can go first. Yeah, wait. Let the ladies first. That's not what the book says. Don't tell me that's also what it meant, because it's not written that way. Yep, you should have thought about that when they were scribing it. Oh, well.
Yeah, they should have.
Bamboozled.
And when you think about it, most of the 10 Commandments are actually kind of laws. And I cannot, because I read the Quran, it's been well over 10 years. They have something kind of similar, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but like, all cultures have something similar. Like, you shouldn't murder somebody, and you shouldn't, like, and the respecting the parents, that's just kind of a cultural. I don't care. Like, you go anywhere, they're going to tell you, be nice to the elderly. Like, it's that simple, so some of it is just culture, and maybe it was influenced by the Bible or the Quran or, any other spiritual text out there. But I mean, there are certain things that are morals and ethics that are ingrained in spiritual beliefs, but I also think it's kind of part of our beliefs too, like our innate sense of being, just to accept others and to respect your parents and respect the elderly, and not to unalive somebody. I mean, I know some of them are very mild and some of them aren't. Don't steal from somebody. I mean, some of it I think is just kind of innate within our DNA just to not do that. Or was it influenced by a specific spiritual path or specific religious path?
Like for an example, there's another one. Now here's another thing too that kind of makes me go, wait a minute, pump the brakes. Thou shalt not covet and thou shalt not have envy. Okay, one problem though. How come Yahweh is being renowned as a jealous, envious God? Oops! Hey, don't look at me, that's what the book says. So we can't be envious, but he can. So he can break that sin, but we can't. Make it make sense. Okay, yeah, totally.
Well, and see, that's also a turnoff, because I noticed that when I was exploring different religions, I ran into people that, like, I showed up at what was it? I think an Episcopalian church down the street. I don't know. It was a Christian. It was a Christian religion. But there was somebody there that I knew that was not a very nice person. And then they're sitting there telling everybody, you know, love one another and this and this. And like outside of church, they were so opposite. I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it when I see somebody in a specific religion doing something.
Now be nice to everybody. Big Bach got a church. Sure, you bastard. Wow, that was quick. That was a quick switch, wasn't it? Besides, the devil got you real fast, huh?
Well, and it's funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a funny story. Well, it's funny, but it's sad. So my ex-husband, his mother had borrowed our dog, and our kids were really little. So they were doing a petting zoo at her church. And it was a Catholic church. And she's like, can we borrow your dog? And I'm like, okay. But I was really nervous. Like, I knew I wasn't supposed to let the dog go with her, but I did. I honestly did not want to. My gut told me not to let her take it. She brought him back the first night, and the second night she didn't bring him back.
Oh,
and I kept calling her, and she wasn't returning my calls, and my kids are missing their dog. I think they were like, oh yeah, my son was born. So I had like a newborn, and then I had a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. And my 6-year-old is totally like, well, she's my middle child. My middle child absolutely loves animals. Like, I mean, she'd sleep with every animal we had, no exaggeration. And so she was really having a hard time. She couldn't sleep because she always slept with this dog. So a week later, and keep in mind, I've been calling her every single day, and I even tried to stop by her house. I'm like, where is our dog? And so she finally comes by, and she's like, I was helping clean up. I tied the dog on his leash to the tree by my car, and the nun saw a man untie him and walk off with him.
For bloody heck.
And he was the sweetest dog in the world. So he'd go with anybody. It wasn't like he'd be like, oh, wait, you're not my owner. He was like one of those really sweet dogs.
For bloody heck.
I'm like, it's been over a week. Like, if you had called me that night, I would have jumped in the car. I would have, like, you know, when it's a week later, it's a little hard. So I did up flyers. I called every single shelter, told them what happened. I had all the shelters in Salt Lake City looking for my dog. They all put the flyers up. So I go to the Catholic church where we allowed them to use our dog. Okay, so keep in mind, at this point in my life, I was pretty naive about the confessional. So this is funny. I just like walked in and opened the door where the priest was on the side that he was on to talk to him, not knowing I was supposed to go on the other side. But keep in mind, I was not Catholic. I'd gone to Catholic Mass with friends before, but I'd never gone to a confessional.
Yeah.
And he was taken aback, and then he was like, "Oh." Then he realized he realized, because when I said who I was, he was like, "Oh wait, she's not Catholic." And my kids had a big poster that we did for the church, asking for information, and we were even giving a reward to find our dog. Do you know the priest was not going to hang the poster? I said, I don't belong to a church.
Really?
But you made money for the things you need in the church, probably for meals for you and the nuns,
Mm-hmm.
because you were charging people for this petting zoo, and my dog was there for 2 days and was stolen on the last day. And you're not seeing this poster. I have 2 little girls at home that were just sobbing because they missed their dog. So he did hang. I was so like, I said something under my breath of, wow, I could never be Catholic. Something like that. And he was like, wait, ma'am, wait. I'm not supposed to put it up, but I will. So they did have it up. And I did get a couple calls of people that said that they would help me look for him. We never did get our dog back. We never did find him. But I'll tell you what, that sat so poorly with me. It was like not a good experience. I was like, here you teach to love everybody and help people. And I helped you by letting you make money off my dog, and somebody stole it from your church, and you're not going to like help me try to find it for my kids.
And I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, if I was in that situation, I would say, so he who's going to be more holier than he is now, I need you to get off your tushy and get all your sisters together and go find the pooch.
Yeah.
Now. And you, the one that borrowed it, you going too.
Yeah,
go.
She didn't do much. Like, she didn't help it much at all. I mean, she was like trying to avoid me, and I'm like,
well, I mean, for goodness sakes, why are you waiting for a week? And besides, if you have, why don't you, I mean, for bloody hell.
Yeah, I mean, this was like, so the newborn didn't realize about the dog, right? I mean, he was a baby. But my daughters were her step grandchildren. But it's like, come on, have some compassion. But I did find that very interesting that, so apparently that particular church, and I don't know if it's all Catholic churches, they can't, if there's like a missing child or a missing animal, they are not allowed to hang up posters. I'm like, really? Like,
is it because this could be seen as idolatry or something?
If someone's missing and say, hey, help find this.
I mean, that's the first thing that popped in my head, and I'm thinking like, okay, so you're putting up an image of somebody who's in critical danger. Wouldn't you want to be doing the Lord's work and helping them be found? That's something different.
Yeah. So yes. So I had like a really hard time with that. I'm like, so you are up on a pulpit prophesizing, but you're not practicing what you teach. Yeah.
Agitated.
Yes, very agitated.
It sometimes makes you really have to take a moment and really think like, are you really this belief system that you're claiming to be a part of? Or are you just wearing it for just a mask and attire? Like a good example are some TV evangelists. Probably the one that's the biggest one that has freaking jet planes. Honey Bear, listen. I don't care if you're going into the jet plane, praising the Lord in the clouds and trying to get it up there yourself. You don't need to be having jet planes. And I careth I have none. You're doing tax evasion. How do I know? Well, simple. Because it is not being used for purposes related to the clergy. It's not. You're doing legitimate tax evasion. Because when do you have a congregation or a religious institute need to have jet planes? In the mega churches, like good Lord Lanta, are we having this become like a football stadium? Or it looks like the crosses are going back. They're going long. And a touchdown. No, he fumbled it. Looks like the crosses are going back to, It's just like people, if they're going to be having their belief system, they should know what it is, what's expected of it, and to follow it the best of their ability. And also be aware of their actions and what they choose to do by choice. Is it really how it is being expected of them? Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but if there's a child missing, well, what is one of those things that was really said about in the biblical text that Christ said? Something about the children, protect the children or something like that, like really caretake to them, give them what they need to be, grow, whatever the heck he said. Aren't children kind of like a big focus? But that's none of my business.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing. Like, so there was a famous, it made national news. A girl had disappeared from Salt Lake at the same time, and she lived in a more prestigious area where people had a lot of money, and her family was very active in the Mormon church. And there was another little girl that had disappeared a couple days before. But this little girl lived in the bad side of town, which in Salt Lake, I mean, like they call it the bad side of town, but it's not really that bad, not compared to the south side of Chicago. I'll tell you that much. Um, but this other little girl was missing too. And the amount of people, like I worked at a hospital and the family lived pretty close to the hospital I worked at. They literally said, we're paying you your wages to go search while you're on your shift, so you can take your last 2 hours of your work shift to go help the search party efforts. And I remember I said to somebody, I said, well, are we going to look for this other little girl? I'm like, she's missing too. Like, we might as well, like, if the community's going to get together, why don't we go look for the other little girl? It ended up the one little girl, and again, like her story is horrific, and I don't want to like discount her story. I'm not going to say her name. Like, I know she does things online and everything all the time about her survivor story. But the thing that, and it's no reflection on her. It was just really sad that the community bulked together for the little Mormon girl, but not the non-Mormon girl. And
Yes. Yeah.
and unfortunately, they did end up finding the non-Mormon girl, and she had been unalived.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
the one thing with it is that if communities got together like that all the time whenever a child was missing, people wouldn't take children. Like, they wouldn't. Because, I mean, these searches were massive. When I tell you, people were walking like arm's length away from each other, yelling her name. So, and this was through the streets, this was through fields. I mean, it was everywhere. They were like, as a matter of fact, when they found this girl, she said for days and weeks and months, she heard her name being called, and she knew that the search parties were looking for her. But she wasn't in a safe area where she could leave her captors. But
I hope it got tackled.
One of the captors ended up passing away.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. So, and I can't remember everything about it because I was still living in Salt Lake when this happened, and when they found her, I had moved here to Chicago. So they found her a little over a year later, and I had moved here at that point. But welcome, Azriel.
Just leaving downtown. Well, I'm still in the area, but yeah, my body hurts. My knee hurts. It wear and tear because the humidity. But guess what? We're gonna have 50 degrees tonight. I don't know if you heard about that, Rowan.
I am so excited. I'm gonna open my window.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, we've been having nothing but humidity over here. But
my hair's slicked back because the humidity has been so bad. Like, my husband's like, when the humidity, I know when humidity is bad, and I look over and it looks like you put your finger in a light socket, and I'm like, yep.
yeah, yeah. So we missed you on Tuesday. You know, Brent let me know that you were actually doing some work. But he did very good. You know, he was actually reading some cards, and it was awesome the way he was interpreting them. He was using a lot of good cards.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was friend, but I was teaching tea leaf reading class. So, and I had scheduled it way before I started going live. So I don't want to be like, well, now I do lives. So, but we will be talking about the Emperor card this coming Tuesday. So we will be on for this coming Tuesday.
It goes. Hold on a second. Let me remember. So it's the Fool, the Magician, right, and then the Empress, and then the Emperor. That's correct.
Close. Okay. So, full magician, high priestess, empress, emperor.
Oh, so we okay. So I missed the high priestess. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And for those that are not aware what we're talking about, each week, Brent and Rowan are actually giving you a breakdown of each card on the tarot, so that way you get some in depth if you're interested in knowing what tarot cards are and what they represent. Each one, they're given. I think the extensive of each card on a weekly basis. So and they
Yeah.
also get a one card pull. So you get a one card pull if you choose to. In the comments, you can either ask for a general question, or if you have a question, put it in the comments, and either or they both actually do it. And times you will find me there, depending on the week. Like right now, I'm all out of it. I don't even know. I heard you guys talking about, that, and that's a horrible circumstance.
Yeah.
And that people think you are, and I say when stuff like that happens, being selective is actually being productive. But no, if you're going to go search, you might as well go all out and help a lot, because you know what, the energy is more abundant versus being selective.
Right.
And being selective, you're going to overlook specific things, you know and that goes with everything. Hey,
Yeah.
chaos.
Yes, it does. Yes. Welcome, chaos. Um, so tonight our topic, and we've been a little like sidetracked because we do get a little sidetracked here, which is fine because like we just go with the flow. So the topic for our spiritual panel tonight, Azrael, is prothesizing versus sharing. And I was really inspired by this because I've seen like just a lot of people who are trying to force their beliefs in different like I brought up like Reddit and the Facebook groups and stuff where people are like, oh, you can't be a warlock, or oh, you're gonna go to hell if you don't read the Bible, and how everybody has their own choice and accountability to be able to have their own beliefs. And it's okay to share your beliefs, but is it okay to force your beliefs on someone else?
I definitely believe they shouldn't. It's not okay to force the beliefs, because the thing about it, let's per se, I hypothetically am forcing some belief on you, you know, and it doesn't matter what I'm forcing on you, but it's my belief, and anything that you do that doesn't resonate with my belief is actually condemned. In other words, it's not good and everything. Let's per se, down the road, I realized that my belief was wrong. Now I am locked in a belief that I can't break away from it. So, that's why we're supposed to be able to have different perspectives, because you know what might suit me today and feels right today might not be the same thing that's going to suit me tomorrow. And that's in any aspects. None of us walk around with one pair of shoes in our lifetime, so we have to have an option of wear, whether it's sportswear or casual wear, or even going out somewhere, maybe you want to dress up, and so you have different shoes to fill for different occasions. And that's the same scenario, when it comes down to these beliefs. I was raised, like many of us, in a specific religious belief. I was raised as a Catholic, a Roman Catholic. But you know what? Did I have a choice? No, it was actually, you have to go. you know, and there was never a choice of me making it. So as an adult, I have an option. Do I stick to that, or do I choose something else, or not even associate myself with it? So, we have to be able to be open-minded and open to many selective things, and it's, the only way are the examples. You go to the kitchen, you don't eat the same food every day, and religiously, that's all you stick to. Because imagine what's going to happen to your body. Your body is going to be limited to growth. You're only receiving specific nutrients from it, specific things that are not going to be what the body wants, and if the body doesn't want that in the physical, imagine in the spiritual aspects, in our spiritual aspects, where we talk about food for the mind, food for the body, and food for the spirit, which is the soul. So each of those things need nutrients. So in the same scenario, as a belief, we have to have one belief for the mind, one belief for the body, and one belief for the soul. and that's the independence of having options. We have to have different options how we pertain. So if I'm gonna believe a specific belief as far as my spiritual, is it something that I'm gonna be delving on a day-to-day basis when I need to go to the gym and work out? And now everything is about my belief versus what I'm supposed to do and feed my body. So so we have to be open. I'm using that as metaphors to put the perspective of how all of us together as a collective, we are never all born in the same instant, in the same second. So of course, some of us are older, some are younger, some are in between. But the thing about it, if we all experiencing things in life that are so different, and no matter if we both like the same, let's say, same baseball team. I like this team, you like this team. But you know what? You like this team for one reason. I'm going to like this team for a different reason. And the next person that likes the team is going to like it for a different reason. So it's all about resonance, and what resonates with us. But we don't close the door. We have to have the options, I like this topic here because it gives me different perspectives. It's like, our city, Chicago is a very big city, but there's so many different freeways. There's so many streets to get to the same place. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter what choice I choose and what role I choose, I'm going to get there. And, and at the end of the day, we're all going to go to the same place. And that's first phase. First phase one, we're going to meet each other in that one place. And then beyond that, we don't know, and it's up to our choices in life. But the options we have to leave open, because if there's construction working down one of the roads, am I going to lock myself and say, you know what, this is all I know and I can't go any further? No, because you know what, Rowan told me that I can take this route, or Brent said I could take that route, and so forth and so forth. So just like any belief, we have to be open to many options, because if we're stuck with one, we're never going to grow. We're never going to get to where we need to go.
I love that. Thank you. Those are some beautiful analogies that you gave too. And I think that's so true. I love the shoe. Yeah, we don't wear the same pair of shoes. And, that's one thing when you're a child is you are kind of stuck with your parents' beliefs, I hope, like, my father at least was pretty open-minded. So when I went to a couple churches with friends that weren't Mormon, and I was really glad he allowed me to. I allowed my children to, like, if they said, hey, I want to go to church with so-and-so, my kids, I was like, okay. And I remember one of my kids, when she hit 13, she was like, I don't want to go to the church you're going to anymore. And I was like, okay. So, she was old enough to stay home alone, or I'd have her go hang out with the neighbor. But I was like, that's your choice. Like, even though, like, I know she was 13, but I was like, you need to have that freedom. And I felt, for me personally, when I was growing up, even though my dad let me occasionally go to someone else's church, if I wasn't going to someone else's church with like a friend, I was supposed to be at church with them. And you hit that point where it's like, but like, this religion is not resonating with me. And that's hard. So, I mean, I guess, like, what I'm saying is, as a parent, I think that was one thing I did well. But I also, because Azriel and I are here in the Chicago area, there's so much diversity that it opens up so many more doors. So being open-minded and willing to listen to other people is really good. But like I said earlier, I don't like when people are trying to force their belief system on me. Like, that's like the biggest turnoff for me. Brent, anything you want to add?
No, I haven't got anything else to add as of right now. Not yet.
Okay, well, I think we're ready for a question.
No, but I want to add a little bit to exactly what you just stated. And I think part of I'm gonna add it to me. I think a part of my mindset and the way that I see things, the balance that it's like what you stated. We have so many diversity here. There's so many options, so many things in here that we are not left in a confined box. In other words, we're very open to so many perspectives. How many metaphysical stores are around in this city? Think about it. Each one holds their own different, stuff, and each one does this own unique thing. And that's just an example. And every time, every area has their own little community where you can go to, Chinatown, you could go to Greek town, Little Italy, you could go to any culture, and you can go through the whole world here, and it's so many options, and we see more. And you know what? It was funny. I was talking to somebody earlier, and they go like, "Hey, what is on your what do you call that? The book bucket list. What's on your bucket list? What place do you want to live?" And I'm thinking to myself, I said, you know what? I really don't want to go nowhere. I'm very happy where I'm at. You can tell me to go anywhere around the world, and I really don't need to go nowhere because I have the world here. This is the whole world, and that's a good option. But time for questions, so I'm going to quiet myself.
You're fine. Yeah, actually, I think that's great. It's really fun. So, I know I've announced it a couple times, but we're moving to a kind of a small town in Wyoming. There's only 14,000 people in this town. And my husband says to me, he goes, "Oh, are there going to be a lot of Mormons there?" Because, the Mormons are in Utah, but there's a lot in Idaho and Colorado and Wyoming. And I'm like, I don't know. Let me Google it. There are 14 different religious churches there. I said, oh, there's a lot of diversity for considering there's 14 churches and only 14,000 people. I'm like, that's a lot of diversity for one teeny community, because that's not a big community, So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I have found that there are a lot of people that follow the pagan path too. And I was like, this is really cool. So I'm excited to have, because that was one thing, is I love having the diversity. And like you were saying, there are some places where there's a lot of different metaphysics shops. Here, I know New York has a Theosophical Society too. I think there's also one in Florida. I know they're in a couple different states, and that's that I will really miss, because the Theosophical Society has so much in their library. I mean, you think about any spiritual or religious topic, they have books on it. And, most of us here in the spiritual community probably we're attracted to this kind of stuff. We learn from multiple people. And I think the most important thing is that a lot of people who prophesize, I've kind of noticed they only prophesize from what they've learned from their religious path, and they haven't opened their mind to hear others. And quite frankly, I'm glad that I don't do that. And that's just for me personally, because I have found Buddhist monks who have had just amazing insight. And when I was exploring Hinduism, I read some amazing Hinduism books that I learned, oh, this will help me when I'm doing this. And it's actually helped me grow. I loved how you were saying, Azrael, we grow spiritually, but we also have to grow mentally. And I think there's a kind of a fine line there. And one thing I realized with the spiritual path is some of the mind stuff that we work with, when we learn some of these spiritual tools that can help us grow as people, that helps us with our mind and with those with emotions. And then, of course, it's just going to help us physically too. So before I go on, Bren, did you want to add anything?
No, not yet.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to see which question looks. Okay. Ooh, okay, here we go. This one's a good one. Where does the line blur between sharing one's faith? Sorry. Where does the line blur between sharing one's faith and attempting to convert others?
Well, when you have somebody going don't you want to be saved? Well, I was saved, and then you showed up. Yeah. It's when don't get me wrong, again, there's a fine line. It's having kind of common sense. Honey bear, we get it. We know that you want to convert people, we get it, yes. But you don't do it that way. You invite, if they say no, you leave it alone. It kind of sounds like a song, in a way. If they say no, leave it alone. If they don't want to leave it alone, leave it alone. Leave it alone, but no, don't leave it alone. And it's somewhat very simple to do, and it's like, truthfully, sometimes it gets kind of a bit concerning when you have somebody not know that it's not going to be the end of the world if they don't convert this one person. That's it in my business.
Yeah, because it won't be the end of the world. Azriel?
It's a tough question, but I'm trying to figure it out. And it's true. It's like, what am I going to be saved from? I guess it's when you're speaking to somebody and you have your beliefs, they are walking in their own paths. We are all. So what is a threat to one can be not a threat to the other individual. When you are saying such things like that, because what am I going to be safe from? I'm not aware of any threats that I have, and somebody might put themselves in a situation where they don't know and they are not scared. I mean, they are scared and threatened by the unknown, so they utilize such like that. You want to be saved, from what? But in actuality, it's because they themselves are dealing with their own demons and they don't have the answer to what they're seeking for. So they try to pass the buck on to an individual like myself or any one of you, and try to get the answer that they're seeking. Because through our testimony is maybe the answer, but they're approaching it in a wrong way where we're supposed to have a communication. Like any discussion is a two-way street. I share my perspective and you share your perspective, and then we communicate, and then we meet each other where we're at. Meaning, oh, I see, and I see your perspective. I agree. You got a point there. It's not about I'm right and I'm gonna give you my perspective, and this is the only belief that you have, the only option. And if you want to continue talking to me, you have to listen to everything I have to say. For anything that you have doesn't mean a thing. So, and that's where it meets. It's where an individual comes to you with their perspective, their, and I'd say, perceptions, and you have no choice on it. You either believe it or not, and that's where I think it's going too far, is when they don't give you an option to either critical think and think it out, and you should be able to think it out.
Yeah, I like that. Well, and also, like there's different religious beliefs and different spiritual paths, like afterlife. Are, they're similar but different. And somebody may tell you, well, this afterlife is like this, and you may be like, huh, that doesn't sound right to me, or I need to do a little more reading on that before I make a decision how I feel about that. And we do need to allow for us to learn. I also think it's like, I don't know, for me personally, I prefer to be able to learn from somebody and have them like share versus okay, if you drink coffee, you're going to go to hell. I mean, like, seriously, like, really, it's like, who made that rule? And, why was that made? But I do think that there is a fine line, and we do need to be open to it. I think probably like a lot of us, maybe I'm sure I've had times where I've said, well, I don't believe in that, but it's picking our words wisely and not saying, well, you have to do this so that you understand my thought process. We have to just pick our words wisely. I know, like, I had a friend, and I had reached out to her when I was like raising my kids. We still are friends, but her kids were just a little older than mine, and I'm like, one of my kids had done something, and I'm like, I'm not happy about it, but it didn't cause anybody serious harm. Like, it wasn't an okay situation. And I'll never forget what she said to me. And I really took this to heart. And I think we can apply it here too. pick your battles, because sometimes you have to like look at the person that it is and say, how important are they in my life? Like, is this worth forcing my opinion on them that could potentially ruin a friendship? And I think sometimes that's what happens. Like when I told this story in the beginning, I mean, my little friend, no one wanted to be her friend anymore. You know, they were like, hey, if she's going to tell us all that we're not going to go to heaven and we're all going to go to hell because we're not in a specific religion, no one wanted to be her friend. You know, it's like nobody wanted to have that belief forced upon them. They want to be able to make that determination yourself. And especially if there's so many religions out there, like Bren, you were, I think you have, don't you have the exact figure or close to
The figure
of how many different religions and spiritual paths there are?
for in the Abrahamic, there's about a total of 35,000 denominations. About 35 bloody thousand. What? Eh.
Yeah, so which one's right?
That would have to be the one that you choose.
Exactly. That's just it. It's the one that you believe in. But then we also have to think about, like, this is where it's also, okay, here's where the line can also get blurred too. So, all right, I'm going to bring up Jim Jones because he's kind of famous. Everybody kind of knows about him. And he, like, when he started out, he had like this great epiphany to start a spiritual community. And it sounded really good and he got a lot of people, but he did a lot of really not so good stuff. And it got to the point where people drank the Kool-Aid and we know what happened. You know, so sometimes it can sound really good, but is it? And that's where, that's another place where the line blurs, because there are, you know, and some of those people are extremely forceful. I mean, we think about Jim Jones, he sounded very persuasive, became very forceful. And then there's like Nexium. Oh my gosh, like Nexium. The person who started Nexium, he was pretty forceful, you know? I mean, people were being forced to be branded. That wasn't a tattoo, that was a brand. Like, people are not animals to be marked if they're lost out on the frontier, right? I don't know if you guys want to touch on that. Like, of course I bring up cults, right? So, but Brent, do you want to touch on any of that?
Oh, the cults. Oh, the cults. Oh, the... where do I start with this? Just like, oh, look, if it isn't like the guy or like the people that are just, well, mainly the person that founded them all, it's like, oh, so is the outcasted one. Oh, he's going to be trying to convert people and make them think that they're the big woozy-wooest thing ever? Okay. But I mean, every cult has the same structure to it. It's just a different shade of pink, different shade of gray, different shade of color.
Yeah.
And it's just a different thing with a different mask on it.
Yes, it is.
BS and free.
And it's unfortunately, and they're the people that are really like forcing their beliefs on other people. And you're like not allowed to have other beliefs. I don't know, Azrael, if you want to jump in on that one before we move to the next question.
Yeah, I think any organized belief, when you have it's organized and have a structure built, it can be a cult. And some of I say most of what's going on around the world is an example. You can slap a country name to it or anything, and it's still a cult no matter how you look at it. Follow the paper trail. That's all I got to say. It's control. Control in one way or another. And when somebody's trying to dictate your beliefs, when you have your own options and your own free will to choose what resonates with you, that's the key factor. I can partake in ceremonies, hypothetically a holiday, and go upon the traditions in my own way without following strictly down the line. In other words, I don't have to be 100% committed to be part of it. And that's the thing about it. In this life that we all are living, billions and billions of us, and who knows how many billion before we even came to existence. Everybody has an experience to experience, and when we are dictated how to experience our life, that is a code, and that's anything, including established organizations that they call themselves politicians is a cult. There's strict rules and specific things, and if we don't abide by them, we're breaking their rules. But you know what? We never agreed to be part of that cult. So we should be independently, because each one is independently born into this earth. We don't come out of the womb with a barcode or anything such as that, but yet they put it upon us, as an example, these barcodes, and we are automatically part of a cult that it's just like that. We should be able to make our own decisions, and yeah, and that's forced upon us. It could go deep, because this is a good concept, and I think society, all of us, as far as the collective, are coming to a revelation. People call it the apocalypse in religion, but it's not an apocalypse where the world's ending. It's the truth is being shown, and we are speaking the truth, and many more are speaking the truth. And this is a revelation right now, and I agree, we should be able to choose and make our own decisions. Like me, I'm in my vehicle. I look from 0 to 120 miles per hour. I have an option in between that 0 to 120, what velocity I want to commute. There is a law that says I can't commute at a specific rate, but you know what? I still have an option. Do I go and test my fate, or do I follow strictly the rules? And who knows, and there's a different change. So it comes down to us. These rules and everything are meant to keep us down. And sometimes we have to break these boundaries that are man-made in order for us to reach our full potential as being an elevated individual, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. Actually, three: mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, we have to know that there is no boundaries. Space itself shows us every time you look in the void in between the stars, it's endless. It's infinite. So we should have an infinite venue of possibilities that we should bring to our life, and it's not dictated by the exterior of others, because those are only perceptions.
That's beautiful. I one of my dance teachers, I danced for 24 years, but one of my dance teachers said, and I don't know if like something was going on. I was like one of those kids, if there was drama going on, I didn't notice it. but she'd stopped everybody and kind of was talking, and she said, every single person in here is unique and has something to contribute to each other. So be open to learning about other people. And I think that's important when we're on a spiritual path too, because like there's little things like I've learned from Bren and Azrael, and I appreciate both of you so much. And even some of like the guests in the chat have like brought comments up that it's like, we've had some great discussions, like where some really beautiful comments have come up that have like, I'm like, wow, that's something I didn't think about. Like, that's something I really need to look into and like learn more. And there's so much out there that we can grow from and not be stifled. I think that's like really important to think about. And so that line with sharing your spiritual beliefs and your faith to forcing them on somebody else, it is a fine line. And I think we do need to be really careful. And also, like, just out of curiosity, Brent, if somebody forces it, are you interested in learning more, or do you walk away?
Well, if you really like to know, when I'm just minding my business, someone says, hey, you want to hear about whatever religious faith here is? No, thank you. They push again. Cupcake. No. They push again. Say, honey bear. You push again, you're going to wish you didn't. So please, quit it. They push again. Okay, so I know this is probably going to be so, quote-unquote, demonic, but get away! It sounded like he got possessed by something. Yeah, that's your cue to go and scooch your tushy out the door. Yeah. I'm always usually open, but it depends on how they present it first.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, if it's pushy, I'm like, no. Um, I mean, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, they're so pushy. Like I think they train them to be pushy, to be honest. Um, and it's always like, you open your door and you're just like, oh, it's like that eye roll of, oh my gosh, they're here again. um, Azriel, your thoughts, like what persuades you to listen to somebody's spiritual beliefs versus like if they're forcing it or if they're just sharing?
Well, first of all, it's the energy. When somebody's forcing it, you can sense it out. And I know, and I know a lot of people are not in tune, but that's why we have these discussions, to bring the awareness. But it's that, if somebody is being pushy, the first thing that comes to mind is actually you feel it in your body, which is you feel that repulsive. You know, you feel that like a magnet. When you have two magnets that are almost alike, and I'm not saying, you are alike, but I'm saying that energy is going to push you away. And that's that repulsive. When somebody's being pushy and say, listen, I want to share this with you. Did you know you can whatever, whatever, and you can whatever, you don't have to uh, have somebody tell you what you need to do. In other words, if I'm looking and I'm having the questions, that's an open invitation for you to actually enter my state of boundaries. My boundaries. But yet, when somebody's coming to you enforcing their beliefs on you, that automatically is a disrespect to your boundaries and your beliefs and who you are. Because at the end of the day, they don't know you, but yet trying to assume who you are, what you need in your life, when in actuality they didn't give a minute or even a moment to know who you are. They ask you about who you are. So yeah, it becomes repulsive when they're trying to enforce something that was never asked. Is it okay for them to share with you? You know, and I was not looking for it. Are you looking for it? No. So if I'm not looking for it, it's like soliciting. Why are you soliciting something when I don't have a sign that says please solicitate me?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's a good thought process too. So, okay, so here, this one's a little deeper. What are potential consequences of forcing beliefs on individuals or communities, both for those imposing the beliefs and those for receiving the beliefs? Bren, are you ready to answer? I know this one's kind of intense, right?
Oh, it is so difficult for me not to just table flip. Ugh. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. So what was it again?
What are the potential consequences of forcing beliefs on individuals or communities, both for those imposing the beliefs and those receiving the beliefs?
Oh, number one, you might be risking. People might be thinking, do you need to be put in a 72-hour hold or something? Because you got no self-control. Then there's also this one. Does anybody happen to know what the magic word is when you don't want somebody to keep doing something? No! Stop it. And then even at that too, it kind of shows that, are you being a BS-atry kind of a thing with this whole thing? You're claiming to represent a faith or a belief system, but you're kind of not doing how it's intended. So, in a way, that is blaspheming. Ugh. And you can also risk people not ever going to take you seriously because of it. And people might look at you like, wow, what a clone or a clown. Like, it's something that is simple to do, know the limit, but people tend to not know when to quit it. And not only that, too, you can also be putting yourself into harm's way. Like, for an example, you could be like trying so hard to convert somebody, then you gotta sock it to me, to the head. And you can probably put yourself in deep doo-doo land, and you don't want to be putting yourself into that. And all because you didn't take no for an answer. It's not worth it. I'm just saying.
No, it's not worth it. Azriel. Do you need me to,
Oh,
do you want me to
oh,
repeat the question?
I was going to say you might have to repeat the question again, please.
Yep. Okay. What are the potential consequences of forcing beliefs on individuals or communities, both for those imposing the beliefs and those receiving the beliefs?
Tension, confusion, um, you know, not an uprising, but just tension. Because the thing about it is when you're forcing something, are people even prepared to accept what you are trying to enforce on them? Meaning, some things are meant not even talk to individuals because you have to give them the opportunity what serves them, and this is why in what we do, the spirituality, we talk about transmuting, whether it's negative energy or beliefs, whether it's our past trauma. And an individual can already be dealing with psychosis and stuff that is actually traumatic to them, and to enforce something to them, it can actually become a trigger. It could be something where it can lead to chaos and mass confusion and an uproar. So, enforcing it can just be too much, meaning it's not appropriate because, like we said, even in the human character, people have preferences. We have different preferences of what we're going to have for dinner, different preferences of what type of vehicle we want to drive, so forth and so forth. So it's no, I was reading the comment. It says Mrs. Wright. She says, hey, haven't caught you in a live in forever. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a long time. But yeah, Rowan. So it's that. So I think it'll definitely cause an uproar because some people have maybe a bad taste in their mouth. They had a bad experience with something similar as what you're trying to force out. And it doesn't serve everybody, meaning not everybody is open and has a palate for nonsense. Some of us will, okay, might as well see how it goes, but there's others that know better, and enforcing it will actually cause an uproar, will cause lack of trust, because I know what they're trying to enforce on us. So it's a big can of worm, so many different options, and so many bad things can go wrong in a situation like that. And the world is the biggest example by observation of what's going on in specific areas where people are conflicting over beliefs. And it's been the same thing over for eons and eons. I'm talking since humanity was able to write down stuff. And if it was the case and the belief was the truth, do you think we need people to repeat it? No. Our experience in life will automatically resonate to what is right and what is wrong. And that's the thing about life. People need to allow people to have a space for them to know and grow on their own. Because if we dictate, become helicopter communities, we're not letting the community grow and expand and flourish. Because you know what? I might know something, but what I know and I share to you might only elevate us to a specific level, where in actuality, when we all open our minds, we are constructive and the skies are beyond the limits. We can go infinite with the potential, and a belief will actually limit us to just the growth that I or the individuals that's trying to put that belief on you. They might just know that, and that's all they know, because after that, they're lost, and they're going to seek somebody else to take them further. So, yeah, that's a tough question there.
Yeah, it is a tough question. And actually, while you were talking, it got me thinking. So, one thing I like history, and there was constantly in England, there was constant, especially when Anne Boleyn became the second wife of Henry VIII, because she was really pushing to leave Catholicism. And the Church of England was formed. And then you've got Protestants, you've got the Church of England, you've got Catholicism. And the Catholic Church was not happy at that point. And at some point, like in my studies, I was like, wow, was the Catholic Church trying to take over Europe? Because it really seemed like at one point it really was. And when Queen Elizabeth was on the throne, do you know that they sent priests to try to unalive her on numerous occasions because she would not follow their beliefs? And, you know, when we think about that, that is so dangerous because there is no one right belief. Oh, we have a question. Do you want to come up, Mrs. Wright? Oh, I think she actually is requesting to come up. Yes, you can come on up. We're going to let you jump in. Yeah, go ahead, Miss Wright.
Oh, I was listening to what you were saying because I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that they attempted to unalive her. I know historically that's something that happened. Like there was like basically two empires in direct conflict. You know, there was England's empire and the Roman. Yeah, no, I'm just listening. I'll put a pin in my question until you're done. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, oh no, that was just it. Like, I mean, how scary is that? Like, here is
Mm-hmm.
this church that's teaching, you know, love one another, and they put hits out because they were not happy that Queen Elizabeth was not following their path.
That it's that bitterness that you when you start to look at history for its truth that you have to accept. And I think everyone likes the way it's been packaged to us as children, and we don't get the meat. We just got the soft boiled potatoes. We did not really sink our teeth into the meat of the reality of history yet. And so a lot of things are coming up. The question I wanted to ask, because it was such a great question, and it feels like it was one of those questions that you asked that it just seems like it was just like a easy question, but it was so deep about the consequences of that forcing beliefs onto people because it can't. We look at it from a sinister point of view, I think initially, but it can be well intended, right? Because we assume that things will get better if everyone just knows these fundamental truths. And like, you know, I used to feel that way for the last like 20 years. I'm like, the world will be so much better if all the spiritual conversations became mainstream. And now that it has, I'm so sad. Like, I'm really sad. So, my question for everybody is, well, first of all, how does everyone deal with that? Where you're seeing and hearing things that you've unraveled and unwrapped and have learned in like the deepest parts of your being become sound bites that get thrown around. And I guess how do you discern now? Because it used to be light dark and now it's light dark and empty. And that's the danger. I think the it's not even if you're in the dark or in the light or whatever polarities you want to believe in, but the empty is where it's the most dangerous now. That's how I feel. But I wanted to get how everyone navigates that and balances that out in non-reactionary.
Brent, do you want to go first?
Well, yes, that is correct. Because the thing is that when you're having something be seen as quote unquote light, quote unquote dark, but then when you have that third, which is the void,
Hmm.
with either side, you are able to experience joy though on either side. But when
Hmm.
you're in the middle, the third, the void, there's nothing. And that is much more heavier than one side being too overthrown one way and then overthrown the other. This one is like being in the center, but apathetic, like, meh, that. Ooh, whoa, like that guy from that Dry Eyes commercial. Dry eyes. It helps make your eyes water.
It's
Ooh,
itchy eyes. Get
exactly.
clear eyes.
That's the best way I could describe it.
Oh wow, you did something. You broke my mind open because now there's the opposites of the polarity of dark light, but being nothing and no thing are different as well.
Mm,
You
yes.
know, And so we can be the no thing when you're all of the potential existence, but there are people who are, and I hate to say it because it sounds so judgmental, but damn it, it's the truth. There's just, it's like, it's not, they speak in absolutes and they're judgmental, and like, I ask questions and I want to understand, and I'll find certain things and I'll put things together, and I will talk to other people that I know are having these conversations and learning. And I don't, well, I'll never profess to say that I know everything, because everything is to be learned. But then when I hear it and I hear, it's like being, it's like, it's the approximate of like finding a relic tool that you know is invaluable, and then you see someone wield it to like do the most dull, jagged work with it, and you're like, that is not what that tool is made for. You are going to ruin this tool because it's a fine motor skill tool. And so you just broke my mind open to say that, to remember that there's nothing and there's no thing. And I got you. I heard you. Thank you for that.
Azriel, do you want to add anything?
I do want to add, but I was just trying to listen to the interpretation of what Bren just mentioned. You know, that's a tough one for me because I go on what I experience and what I feel. And I've been to the void, and when we talk about the void, we assume it's pure darkness, but you know what? There's energy beyond the darkness that you can imagine. Especially when we talk about the energy of creation and what created everything. Because in order for that darkness to be as dark as it is, there is an energy to step in all known light, in all light codes. Everything that you see with your eyes visually, and now you're in darkness, yet there is something that is attracting light away from that darkness in order for it to become. So even in darkness, there's even I would call it the ancient ones. The
Hmm.
ancient ones are delving into that darkness, and they don't have bodies, but they have what do you call it? Shapes, and the best way to explain it is sound. In the void there is still sound, and there is still um the ability for it to resonate, and in resonance it creates waves, and in darkness those waves are still there. You might not see them and observe them, but you can feel them. And understanding that, I need a little input on the actual question, because this is not a matter of the yin and the yang, where you
Hmm.
have the black and the white, and in between you have the gray. No,
Hmm.
oh, here, I'll go with it. Okay, so in the aspects of a masculine and a feminine, when the conception is occurring in the void where it is the womb. So that void is the womb, and in that void where we do not see, do not understand, but yet know that conceiving reality becomes within that womb. In that darkness, which is darker than dark, beyond that, the energy, the vibration, what actually is the number one source for it to become something. In other words, in darkness, in void, is creation. Because if it's dark enough, there's another side to that darkness in order for you to see that darkness. If that makes any sense. I know I'm speaking in a metaphor, and I'm not avoiding the answer,
No,
but
no, it's full of answer, actually. It's full of
you
answer.
and but I, like I said, I'm only using it through the interpretation of what I've seen in darkness, and understanding what the void is. And the void was before earth existed and anything existed. So I've seen there, I heard the whispers, I understood it, I seen what the potential is. And the potential starts with the feminine womb. And when we speak about that darkness, it's within that womb. That within that womb, in that void where you think nothing exists, life does exist. And that's the potential that, even in doubt, when there's nothing around, and pure darkness, it gives the seed a place to grow.
Hmm. And that's what I'm saying. That's full of answer. Like the thing I think I've been struggling with is that I've embraced the darkness. The darkness isn't void as in that there's nothing there. It's void in that there's no one thing there. All of the things are there, and they're all in this constant state of fluctuation of potentia, and it's all of the soup of creation. And so we call it a void because it doesn't have one particular thing. It has all of the things. The thing that I guess I'm struggling to notice and to recognize or to accept. Accept is the better word. I'll be honest with you. To accept, as we all, I'm struggling to accept, is the things that feel hollow. Like darkness is full and light is full, but there is a hollow. Even
That,
in like scary movies, they talk about the hollowing. With the what was that? Oh my God, there's a movie, like an old school movie. Is it The Never-Ending Story? And it became, and it was a hollowing. It
Yes.
wasn't dark or light, it was a hollowing
The
of something.
nothing.
Yes.
The
And now,
nothing. It's a nothing.
It's the nothing.
It's
I
the
have,
nothing. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't mind being the no one thing, which is the void of everything. But it's like when you see food that doesn't have nutrients anymore. When you see music that doesn't have like emotion, it's like I'm hearing people who are spiritual, not and present company excluded, because you guys are, I've been listening, and like I've listened to other lives before. And so I know that you guys have lots of information, and I love you guys for that. But like this, the vessels that are around that are this, it just feels hollow. Like I know I can hear an echo when someone speaks. So I'm like, how is everyone else dealing with this? Because it's driving me up a wall, and I don't know what to do with it.
Well, you know what they were saying, because what you're describing, that hollowness, is heavily associated with the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is a
Mm.
water bearer, and the urn, that's the hollow, that's the space, that's the void. Aquarius carries the void. Yes. Aquarius fills up the void with water or whatever, then dumps it out. Age of Aquarius. Dun dun dun!
That's what I
Cue
was
dramatic
actually.
music.
I was going to throw that out. Like, a lot of people have some people believed the age of Aquarius started a couple decades ago, but it is really believed that it started on the Great Conjunction, which happened actually in 2020. I know for sure. I know we are in the age of Aquarius now, and this is the age where we're going to start seeing more spirituality come out. We're also going to see more technology. So, like we're seeing AI now, and so we are getting a lot of the light and the dark. And the other thing with the hollow is actually the hollows in the basement of the charmed ones too.
All right, the hollow.
Well,
Like this, this is language that's being used, and I'm like, is this like divinely orchestrated that this is a language because it's a feeling? Like this is what it feels like when we're going through. Because I'm like, I'm like this. I'm hearing this. I'm like, this is hollow. There's no nugget of anything. Like, and it's driving me crazy because it feels
I
like,
think for me,
God.
like when I was in the religion that my parents raised
Mhm.
me in, I felt hollow. Like it did not resonate with me. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why would God like reject some people and not let them in heaven? Like, so one of the concepts is that a woman can't go to the highest kingdom of heaven if they're not married to a man who holds the priesthood. Well, why would God do that? Like, I was
Mhm.
like, I don't understand. He teaches love one another and that everybody's important, but then you're not important if you don't do that.
Not like a VIP, like
It's like, wait, what? And
not
wait,
a.
wait a minute. Why are
There's a
we
velvet
suppressing
rope
women?
behind the pearly gates.
Yeah. And I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you like, and then I'm like asking all these questions like, well, then why are we being treated like this as women? Why are, so it brings up like a lot of questions. Um, I think that it's really important for everybody to follow their personal beliefs. And if somebody says something that doesn't resonate with you, it's not supposed to be with you, you
Fair.
know? Like, so I can look at a lot of the oh gosh, why am I all of a sudden blanking on the word? But a lot of the religious beliefs that were taught when I was growing up from the religion that my parents were, like a lot of it did not resonate with me, and it really bothered me. Like it
Mm-hmm.
bothered me bad. I was just like, this isn't right. Like this is not sitting with me right. Now, there are millions of people still in that religion and it sits with them fine, but it didn't sit with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I again, everybody can have their own belief system, at least in my view. I even when I'm teaching classes, because I teach a lot of classes, I always say be your own spiritual guru because it saves you from a lot of stuff. Like we talked a little bit about cults.
Mm-hmm.
When you follow your own path, you're not going to get dragged into, like, you're not going to run into a Jim Jones.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find a David Koresh. I mean, we're not going to find these people if you have your boundaries and you have your personal beliefs, and if you don't let people knock you down. And as far as the light and the dark, this is something that I'm like really like attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
I love the moon. I've loved the moon since I was a little girl. So I'm kind of like I would prefer the dark kind of person. Not
Mm-hmm.
because it's dark, but because like you have the moon, and then there's so many amazing nocturnal animals that are out, right? And when I'm talking, especially because I do Reiki, I have a lot of Reiki clients, and sometimes they'll come because they're very sad and it's very relaxing and kind of helps when they go through a session. And I always say, it's okay because we just need our eyes to adjust in the dark. Think about
Mm.
the owls. Like, think about an owl. It can be new moon when there is no light outside, and an owl can pinpoint where a mouse is and dive down and grab it and have its food, right? So we have the ability to, our eyes can adjust. It's just a matter of letting our eyes adjust, and not everything in the dark is bad. I know that's like one thing that people talk about, but I think about like my authentic self. A lot of stuff that was in the shadow or in the dark for me personally was my beautiful talents that were not accepted by the culture and the religion that I grew up in. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, you know what? If I'm going to wear black every day, I'm going to wear black every day. If I want to, like, this is me. And so it is just grasping ourselves. And I know I always, like, when I see people are like gatekeeping or trying to force, that's my biggest, like, I'm going to just walk away. Like, we're not going to resonate together. And, like Bren and Azrael were bringing up the energy. Yeah, they usually have like a bad energy. And if I see their aura, I'm like, nah, done, walking away. I don't need this because life. We only, we're here for a short time. So why put ourselves in situations that aren't healthy?
True. It's
Oh, Pen, you muted.
I was saying that like I learned to love my darkness because it's the full expression. Like we a lot of people when you're indoctrinated, you think of the light is the good side and the dark is the bad side, and that's not the truth at all. Like all of it is you, and you have to be able to live in both of those things. Like you don't stop existing at night just because the sun went down. Like you don't just like disappear and presto changeo when you're gone. Like you live through both of those cycles, and you have to know how to be balanced in both of them. So I through my journey I accepted all of it, like all of it. It's and it's I feel almost protective of this space, not just the one that I'm in, but like the one that I think we're all in, where I'm okay with that hollowness in traditional religions because it's almost expected. Like I expect it to be, just to everyone's emotional and spiritual detriment. I expect it to be toxic. But to the journey that so many people have been on to hold space in this understanding of self and understanding of deeper quote quote esoteric things, like like now it's a mainstream conversation. It's on TikTok, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. Like I was watching DVDs of lectures that were only half done that to this day I've never seen the end of the lecture because you just can't find it anymore, or like a random YouTube 15 years ago, almost 20, however long it's been. And it's when it wasn't such a common conversation, and there are a lot of people who held space for it and practice all the things that they've practiced with all of the judgments of mainstream society in their face, and having to overcome the fear of indoctrination and breaking that indoctrination to hold space for everyone else to be in this conversation, for it to be a mainstream thing. So now when I see the tenets or the principles or parts of teachings that took years to become a mainstream conversation being used negatively, I get very defensive and I'm like, that's not healthy. Like I was on a panel and these people were picking apart somebody about not having done their shadow work and knowing what they're like, well, you know what shadow work is, right? And I'm like, what is happening here? What did I walk into? Are you are we bullying people about doing shadow work now? Like what? When did this become a thing? Wait.
No, and that should not, because some people aren't ready for it. I mean,
Right.
I run into people all the time because I do Reiki sessions, and I'll do, like, people will call me for tarot card readings, and um, I'll know right away that they need to do shadow work. Like I can
Mhm.
tell, but I can tell them till I'm blue in the face. The thing is if they're not ready and they don't want to do it, it's not going to get done. So it's up to them. And it's like when they're ready, if they're like, hey, do you have really good shadow work questions? Yes. How many do you want?
Mhm.
But yeah, it is sad. Like I have heard people that have said that. I mean, I have like friends and clients that I see what they need, especially like people that I do Reiki for. Like I've got several clients that I do Reiki for that I know what they need to really do to heal, but they're not ready. And if they're not
Mhm.
ready, you can't force them. It's just like we
Mhm.
can't force people to accept Christianity or Judaism or Islam or paganism. We cannot force it. Everybody comes to their belief system on their own. They become authentic on their own and they heal on their own. And it does overlap, and it's like but we can't force anybody. And sometimes even when I started my spiritual journey, I was also healing from a very severe trauma. And
Mhm.
it took me a long time to heal from the trauma because I was ready to heal, but I wasn't ready. Like some aspects of it I was ready to heal and some aspects I wasn't. And it's like that movie, What About Bob? I know but the best thing about that movie is baby steps.
Mm.
It's baby steps in spirituality, steps in healing. And we need to accept everybody everybody's on their own path. We're going to cross paths, but yeah, that makes me sad to hear that people are like, oh, they're not doing shadow work. They shouldn't like, no.
And I want to chime in because there's so much that you guys said that I wanted to say, but
And this is what you so good.
I'm just going to limit it, but what you're saying is what we're doing. This is an example. When you think about, how each one of us here is able to chime in and share a perspective, but yet be able to ask a question and wait for the answer to come. This
Mhm.
is the same example that the great philosophers of the past, you can name any philosopher. This is what they did. They sat around, discuss many things, and they never really agreed on everything. But you know what? They were able to elevate their conscience, their thoughts, and their beliefs by observation, by getting the perceptions and the perspective of one another, and that's how we are allowed to integrate, allowed to adapt and change and be able to prepare ourselves when struggles and these obstacles that do arise in the future. This is a lesson that we're teaching one another, is prepare. We're becoming more and more prepared by becoming more and more aware. And I'm going to stop so that way you guys continue. But as far as that hollow, and you guys talk about it, the they talk about is that the moon is hollow itself. How do we know the moon is hollow? About darkness and how hollow is reference to darkness, but yet the movie The Ring is also partaking in darkness. And darkness is the only place that we can continue to grow, because once the light is shined, it's like the beliefs. Once the light is focused on a specific belief that we have, it's already there. The options are no longer there. That's why we have to go back into the shadow, because the shadow is when we are allowed to grow, and that's how we connect this dark and the dark, because all and everything is being created.
Thank you, Azrael. I'll see if Bren, do you want to add anything? Because I know we're like getting deep, man.
Well, not really, because it's mainly just like, well, you guys are already saying it, so carry on.
You're super easy sometimes, Bren. Insightful and relaxed. Go ahead, Miss Wright. I see you're ready. Oh, you'll be back. Okay, wonderful. All right, so we've had like Azrael, do you want to add anything else? Do you want to continue for a little bit?
Well, see, that's this the discussion is that I look for. I like talking about that are in the dark, because that's where the growth, most of me and the things that I've learned in my life was in dark moments. And the dark moments are not dark moments where it was upsetting or I'm going through specific trauma. The dark moments are those moments where I felt lost. But yet, where do we find ourselves lost? It's when the light is off. When we don't know the way around, and we're reaching to find stability. We're reaching to find something falling and hurting ourselves. So in darkness, it's that womb. Like I said, once we can look at it, this is where I, as a masculine, can see how the divine feminine works within me. That creation, that creator that is within me is the womb within me. And in order for me to take that, I have to take the feminine aspects of understanding how everything is always connected. Now I understand how Sophia plays a role in all this, and how Hecate and all these goddesses that we discuss all the time. And through that, then my manifestations, my belief come more truth, because I embrace the darkness. Even though I shine light and I talk, and I'm very positive, but you know what? It was only through that darkness of being lost, not lost in the world, but lost within myself. Closing my physical eyes, eliminating anything that I've read, anything that was taught to me through my eyes, and going back to clean slate. The foundation within me as an individual. My spiritual alchemy needed that darkness, that dark ground, in order for me to start creating. And that's how I love, like I said, these type of topics, because we're able to feed off one another. And when we feed off one another, we become the echoes in the darkness. And that's why I mentioned, remember earlier, the moon, they say it is hollow because it rings. And in darkness, just like a bat, the bat doesn't see in dark. It uses the vibration, just like Daredevil, which is a superhero. He does not see. He sees by vibration. And what Bren mentioned earlier, that water, the hollow, if you think about it, the hollow is the hall, and the O is the like the water, the oxygen, and the W is the waves of the water, the frequency. So the hollow is the halls of the mind. All right, think about it. You have a mind, but yet the mind is hollow, and everything ping pongs, and through the ether, which is the O, the water, and everything that connects all of us, the waves, whether they're chaotic waves or stillness, It's all the vibration. Everything's a vibration, and within that frequency, when once you start seeing how the waves work, like the scientists when they turn off the light and they start shooting a laser, and these lasers are different codes, and you can see the different waves of it. That's how the hollow works for us. It's actually a manifester of reality, but we need to be within it in order for us to be able to create it. And we create it by understanding when we talk to one another, because when we talk to one another and become mindful, remember that moment of compassion and being mindful, now we're able to add substance into that mind that was hollowed. And see, this is why I was talking earlier. The philosophers did these concepts, because this is where us as a group of individuals can start getting these growth downloads. We can actually start seeing things in different aspects, because you know what? If everything was painted in black and white, now with us feeding off one another, we're able to vibrate these different colors of the spectrum. And in darkness, even though we didn't see it, these sparks are coming in different colors and different frequencies, and we are becoming the co-creators that we were supposed to be. Because in that hollow, now I am able to imaginate, and that imagination is the I am in action. And I'm gonna yield. I love these.
Yes, and this has actually been a great topic tonight. We've covered so much. Um, it's been really wonderful. I want to stress like the most important thing, and again, I teach this in my classes, is be your own spiritual guru. Your belief system is important. It's just like your feelings are important. You having a healthy body, mind, and spirit is important. And the only person that can create that and make that happen is you. There's no outside force that can make that happen. A significant other can't, a friend can't. Yes, we unfortunately we did lose Brent. Only you can make the changes you need in your life. Only your belief system will get you where you need to be. And I think that's like so important, especially when we're in a spiritual community. Again, like for me personally, when I see people trying to prophesize too much and force their beliefs down me, it's like I walk away. Even though like I've had instances where like I do get concerned, because like I have seen people where I'm like, are they being brainwashed? But you know what? Even if somebody's in a situation where they are being brainwashed by, say, a leader, we can't persuade them in any way, shape, or form to leave. It's when they're on their own, when they're ready, they will. So I just think it's be the big person and share, not throw it down people's throats. Azrael, anything to add to that?
No, you're 100%. And that's the thing about it. I think, us here having this discussion, we can show, and even though, there was limited group of individuals within here, us being able to speak it, we're putting it into action. And, those waves through, I call it an echo. It goes throughout the whole community. So that way we all can touch on this topic, because these things are what's needed. We have so many questions, but yet, we shy away from it because sometimes, it seems like the world's not prepared for our questions. But in order for us to know is to allow ourselves to express them. And I think, we're doing a good example by, what we're discussing here tonight. These lives are needed, not lives like Miss Wright was saying, where people are telling you, oh, you shouldn't do this or you need to prepare that. We're not here to dictate people. We're giving individuals an option. Either believe, not believe it, or don't even associate with it. Meaning, in other words, don't even acknowledge it. You have an option to believe it, not believe it, or don't even acknowledge it. And that's how life should be. We have three options. But, and I think, like I said, at the end of the day, we're not here to win a prize. We're not here to change anybody's perspective. We're just here to give our perspective. And if they choose to, they can integrate it along with their beliefs. And that's how we gain depth, you know, and, you know, clarity is deep by us understanding and seeing things in different perspectives. You know, it's not a one-sided road, you know, like I mentioned earlier, it's not one way to reach your destination. You have so many different options. You know, we can choose to stay stagnant for years and then finally make that first step. So it's up to us to take whatever option we want.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, the beautiful thing is like with our spiritual community, because there's so many amazing people in the spiritual community, is that we can learn from everybody. And it might be like, I mean, I take notes, like I was even taking notes tonight. And it might be that we learn something, or hey, that was really interesting, and you may not ever use it again. Or you may like go, ooh, I'm going down this rabbit hole. I'm going to do some more research on this. And it's just being open-minded and ready to learn. And it's nice to be able, like, that's what I love. Like my spiritual path, I take whatever resonates with me and I put whatever doesn't. You know, I'll put it off to the side. I mean, it's valuable information. You know, I can carry on conversations with people about like different topics because I do like to read a lot and everything. And sometimes I'll be like, I don't know about that one. Sorry, can't add on that. But at least I'm the first to admit it. But yes, it is really important. And as Azrael said, like these lives are important. And just so that everybody is aware, if you're just joining late and you've been like, oh, that was such a great topic, I didn't see the whole thing. I do post the replays on my YouTube and my Patreon. So you can rewatch anytime. So if it's something, or if I said something, or Bren said something, or Azrael or Miss Wright said something that you're like, I want to re-listen to that, you can re-listen to it. So yes, if you're following me, you can hit my, in my bio, there's a bio link there that can take you to Patreon and YouTube. And you can see any of the past Witchy Book Clubs, Tuesday Tarots, and spiritual panels. So they're there available for you. If I could post 2-hour videos on TikTok, I would, because some of them are usually about 2 hours long, and unfortunately I can only post up to an hour. But we're going to wrap up for tonight. I think this was a beautiful topic. I will be live again on Sunday. Sunday is Witchy Book Club, and oh goodness, I forgot to write down. I think we're on chapter 7. I'm pretty sure it's chapter 7 of The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. And so we'll have our discussion on Witchy Book Club. So I'm very excited for that. And it is an open panel. So if you've read the book, or if you're just inspired to pop up while we're talking, you are more than welcome to request to go up. But before we leave, Azrael, any last points of knowledge and any special goodbyes that you want to say?
No. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share. You know, like I said, it's always a great experience, especially when it inspires. You know, and I love to be inspired.
Okay, yeah, inspiration.
And you know, and I'm at the store. So I like inspiration. You know, like I said, there was a point in my life where I was reading on a lot of the stuff, but now I'm going solely by experience. And like you said, when we hear from somebody, it's tools that we never know when we need them. And these tools, on the Twix, it's $1 from here. Oh, they did it? Oh.
No, thanks.
No. Okay. No. Okay. So they'll do it right now? Okay, there you go. All right. I'm at the store buying a Twix. All right. But yeah, so these are tools. We might never, ever need them. But you know what? We might bump into somebody that might need it. So that's the thing about it. The power of us being able to open to receive things, it's not about always self. It's about who we surround ourselves with. Maybe they need it. Maybe somebody down the road might need it. So it's good to gain wisdom and knowledge where sometimes we feel it's for no reason. And needless to say, we have a discussion and somebody brings up something and says, oh, by the way, you're looking for the answer to that. You know what? A couple of lives ago or a year ago or 10 years ago, I heard it through the grapevines that somebody told me this, and maybe this is your message, and I'm going to give it to you now. As a tarot reader, we're able to read signs, and that's an example. When we're in conversations like this, the signs come in so many different factors that it might not resonate right now, but it might be the clarity that somebody needs. And with that, I'm going to let you go because I know you worked a long day, as myself, Rowan. So.
Yep. Yep, we do work long days. Thank you, Azrael. As always, I appreciate
It's
you.
an honor.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm honored that you came up, and to Bren and Miss Wright, if they're I don't know that they're necessarily still hanging out. It was a pleasure having them on panel too. So I am live on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thursday's always a spiritual panel that is open, so you can pop up anytime you want. And Sunday is Witchy Book Club, and you can pop up on that panel. Tuesday's the only one that's a little bit closed, that only Azrael and Bren can come up because we do tarot readings. But as always, merry meet, merry part, bright blessings, and namaste.